When someone decides to buy a new car, the first thing that comes to mind is the price tag in the showroom. That large, prominent number that seems to summarize everything being acquired. But that number is, in fact, only the beginning of a much longer calculation. And very few people stop to do this math before signing the contract. What really weighs on the wallet doesn't appear in the advertisement, isn't on the sticker on the window, and certainly isn't mentioned by the smiling salesperson on the other side of the table. The true cost of a car is revealed little by little, month by month, year by year, in silent installments that accumulate without the driver noticing. Think about it. Every month, around $127 comes out of your pocket just for insurance, plus $80 for fuel, another $40 or $50 for unplanned maintenance, that part replacement that came up out of nowhere, that strange noise that appeared on Monday and needed fixing on Thursday. Individually, each of these amounts seems manageable, almost insignificant. But when you put it all in a spreadsheet and project this rate over 10 years, the result is quite unsettling. We're talking about more than $30,000 spent on a car that was paid off a long time ago. This number completely changes how you view buying a vehicle. It's no longer about choosing between a beautiful model and a more discreet one, or between a vibrant color and a more sober one. The question that really matters is different. How much will this car cost to maintain over time? And that's precisely the question that most people ignore at the most important moment, which is the moment of decision. The excitement of the new car, the smell of a fresh interior, the gleaming technology on the dashboard cause long-term financial reasoning to simply be set aside. For those living on a fixed income, such as retirement or pension, this calculation has an even more concrete weight. $30,000 over 10 years represents money that could have been used to visit family, to cover a medical emergency, or simply to have a reserve that guarantees peace of mind. When that money goes away on gasoline, insurance, and repairs, it doesn't come back. There's a silent pattern that repeats itself in the life of almost every driver who owns a car for more than 5 years. The first few years are calm, the vehicle runs well, maintenance is simple, and the feeling is that it was a great deal. But from the 6th year onwards, something changes. Not all at once, not with a single major problem that justifies an immediate replacement, but with an irritating sequence of small faults that appear one after another, as if the car had agreed to start charging interest for the time it was left alone. And the worst part is that these faults almost always come from the very features that seemed most modern and attractive at the time of purchase. Electric seats are a clear example of this. In the showroom, the feeling of pressing a button and watching the seat slide smoothly into the perfect position seems like an indispensable luxury. What nobody mentions is that each of these movements depends on a separate electric motor, and that a modern front seat can have up to 6 or 7 of these motors working together. One for forward and backward movement, another for reclining, another for lumbar support, another for height adjustment, and so on. Each of these motors is a mechanical part subject to wear and tear, and when the warranty expires, the bill to replace any one of them starts at $280 and can easily reach $520 per seat, not including labor. Climate control follows the same path. Dual-zone climate control technology, where the driver regulates one temperature and the passenger regulates another independently, is sold as absolute comfort. And it is indeed comfortable until it stops working. The system depends on actuators, which are small internal motors responsible for directing the airflow within the dashboard. Over time, these actuators begin to fail, and the most common symptom is precisely that irritating clicking noise that appears every time the air conditioning is turned on. The repair is not cheap, and the waiting time for the part can leave the driver without climate control for weeks, in the summer heat or the winter cold. Electronic modules complete this cycle of unpleasant surprises. Modern cars function like moving computer networks, with dozens of modules constantly exchanging information. When one of these modules loses communication with the others, the result is an error code that lights up a warning light on the dashboard and sends the car to the repair shop. The technician connects the scanner, reads the code, and often cannot give a clear answer as to what exactly is wrong. When Tesla announced that the Model 2 would be built with fewer features than previous models from the brand, the immediate reaction from much of the specialized press was one of bewilderment. Fewer features in a new car? In a market where each launch tries to surpass the previous one with larger screens, more buttons, more adjustments, more connectivity, the logic seemed to go against everything the automotive industry stands for as progress. But when you understand exactly which features were removed and why, the decision begins to make much more sense than it seems at first glance, especially for those over 60 who think of the car as a long-term tool, not as a fleeting object of desire. The starting point of this philosophy lies in the seats. Instead of maintaining the full electric adjustment system with multiple motors per seat, the Model 2 should arrive with manually adjustable seats, or with only 1 or 2 motors for basic positioning. For those who have never stopped to count, this means eliminating between 4 and 6 motors per front seat, drastically reducing the number of components subject to failure after the warranty expires. Most people adjust the seat only once, in the first week with the car, and never touch that setting again. The other motors remain idle, age, and eventually fail without ever having been truly needed. The central screen has also undergone a significant overhaul in this proposal. Current Tesla models use 15-inch panels, which are visually impressive but consume more battery power, cost over $1,000 to replace when defective, and curiously are more difficult to use for many older drivers who struggle with small icons, menus buried in subcategories, and the absence of physical buttons with haptic feedback. The Model 2 should adopt a smaller, more straightforward, simpler-to-navigate screen that consumes less power and, when it needs to be replaced, will have a significantly lower replacement cost than current screens. The climate control follows the same simplification logic. Instead of a dual-zone system with multiple actuators and independent control modules, the Model 2 will operate with a single temperature for the entire cabin, reducing the number of moving parts within the dashboard and decreasing the number of communication points between sensors and the vehicle's central computer. Putting real numbers into a comparison between cars is always a revealing exercise, because abstract values take on a completely different weight when they appear side by side with concrete, everyday situations. Based on real repair data reported by drivers over 65 who have owned modern compact cars for 7 to 10 years, it is estimated that the simplified design of the Model 2 could represent savings of $1,400 to $20,600 in maintenance costs alone over a decade. This range may seem conservative at first glance, but it only considers repairs directly related to the components that have been simplified or removed, without taking into account a number of other factors that make the comparison even more favorable. One of the most significant of these factors is the absence of a transmission. Every combustion engine car has a transmission system that, depending on the model and usage, begins to show wear and tear from the 8th or 9th year of use. A complete transmission replacement can cost between $3,500 and $5,000, a bill that arrives unexpectedly and is rarely part of the financial planning of someone who bought the car years ago. The Model 2, being electric, simply doesn't have a transmission. There's nothing to wear out in that regard, nothing to replace, and no such bill waiting to appear at a stage in life where any unexpected expense weighs much more than it did decades ago. The same reasoning applies to other components unique to combustion engine cars. The alternator, responsible for recharging the conventional battery while the engine is running, is a part that fails regularly and whose replacement costs around $400 to $700. The exhaust system, which corrodes over time and may require partial or total repairs, represents several hundred more dollars depending on the extent of the problem. The starter motor, Fuel filters, injection system, each of these elements represents a potential failure point that simply does not exist in an electric vehicle and therefore does not exist in the budget of the driver. There is also a less obvious but equally important effect in this equation, which is the impact of energy consumption on battery health over time. Every time the Model 2 saves energy by not needing to power a huge screen or a complex climate control system, that energy benefits the main battery, reducing the number of charge cycles and preserving battery capacity for longer. In the used electric car market, battery health is the main factor determining the resale value of the vehicle. A car with a well-preserved battery can be sold for a fair price. A car with a degraded battery needs to be offered at a significant discount, and this discount represents money that the owner simply loses at the time of sale. There's a transformation that has happened so gradually in the automotive industry that most people barely noticed when it occurred. Cars have gone from being mechanical machines with a few supporting electronic components to becoming computers on wheels, where virtually every function of the vehicle depends on software communicating with other software. One module sending signals to another, sensors feeding data to a central system that processes everything and returns a response in milliseconds. Moving the seat, adjusting the airflow, displaying the speed on the dashboard, lighting a warning light. Everything goes through this digital chain before it happens. And the longer this chain, the greater the chance of something going wrong at a point that no one can see or touch. The practical problem with this becomes very specific in the repair shop. When a modern car has a problem, the first thing the technician does is connect a scanner to the vehicle's diagnostic system to read the stored error codes. However, these codes often identify the symptom, not the cause. The seat stopped moving, but the code doesn't say if the engine failed, if the control module lost communication, or if it was a temporary software glitch that has already self-corrected and won't happen again. The car sits in the shop for 2, 3, 4 days while the technicians try to reproduce the problem, and the driver is left without transportation, depending on others to go to the doctor, the market, anywhere they needed to go alone. This uncertainty has a cost that doesn't appear on any bill, but is felt very concretely by those who experience it. Not knowing what's wrong with their own car, not being able to understand the technician's explanation, not having a clear estimate of when the vehicle will be ready, all of this generates a feeling of loss of control that is especially heavy for older people who depend directly on their car to maintain their routine and independence. The technological complexity that was sold as comfort and modernity transforms, in these moments, into a source of stress that no one had anticipated at the time of purchase. Software updates add another layer to this problem. Tesla is known for its ability to remotely send updates to its vehicles, fixing bugs and improving functions without the driver needing to take the car anywhere. This is genuinely useful in many situations, but it also means that the car's behavior can change from one morning to the next without any prior warning. The screen layout rearranges itself, a function that was in one place appears in another, a new alert starts flashing without a clear explanation of what it means. To speak honestly about a product also means talking about who it wasn't designed for, and the Model 2 is no exception to this rule. There's a driver profile for whom this car simply won't work well, not because of a vehicle flaw, but because of a genuine incompatibility between what the car offers and what that person needs or values. Ignoring this point would be dishonest, and understanding it is as important as understanding all the advantages discussed so far. A car that's right for the wrong person is still a bad choice, regardless of how many favorable numbers appear in a financial comparison. The first group for whom the Model 2 is probably not the best option is people who frequently change cars, every 2 or 3 years. The entire financial logic of the vehicle is built on the long term. Savings on repairs become apparent from the 6th year onwards. Battery preservation is reflected in the resale value after a decade. Those who do not intend to keep the car for at least 7 or 8 years simply will not reach the point where these advantages become concrete and will forego features that other models offer without reaping the benefits that would justify the change. There is also a physical limitation that needs to be mentioned clearly and bluntly. People with medical conditions affecting mobility, serious spinal problems, or movement difficulties requiring very precise adjustments to the seat position may find the Model 2's simplified seating system a real comfort barrier. This is not a matter of aesthetic preference or attachment to luxury. It is a legitimate functional need. Before making any decision, this driver needs to test the vehicle personally and assess whether the available configuration meets their specific needs, because physical comfort is not a negotiable detail when it comes to driving for years on end. The profile of those who value luxury as part of the everyday driving experience also deserves honest attention. There is real pleasure in getting into a car with premium finishes, in feeling the quality of the materials, in having access to a large and responsive screen, in enjoying sophisticated climate control that caters to each individual's preference. For some people, these elements are not superfluous. They are an integral part of what makes driving enjoyable. There's a word that frequently comes up when people over 65 talk about what they fear losing most as time goes by, and that word is independence. It's not just about driving. It's about being able to go to the doctor without needing a ride, shopping at your own pace, visiting a grandchild without depending on someone else's schedule, maintaining a routine that belongs entirely to the person living it. In this context, the car ceases to be an object and becomes a direct extension of autonomy. And when that car starts to break down frequently, when it spends days in the shop, when it generates bills that compromise the monthly budget, it stops protecting that independence and begins to threaten it from the inside out. The cycle that forms when a vehicle becomes financially unpredictable is subtle at first and devastating over time. The driver begins to avoid longer trips as a precaution. They start refusing invitations to go out because they don't trust that the car will hold up. They postpone medical appointments because the vehicle is in the shop, or because the repair from the previous month is still being paid for. Each of these small sacrifices seems reasonable at the time, but added up over months and years, they completely reshape a person's life, reducing their range of movement, increasing dependence on others, and accelerating an isolation that no one planned for and no one wants. This is where the financial argument surrounding the Model 2 transcends the numbers and takes on a dimension that doesn't appear in any spreadsheet. A car that costs less to maintain, breaks down less, and doesn't surprise the driver with $600 bills in a month when the budget was already tight, is a car that allows its owner to continue living the way they chose. The projected savings over 10 years are not just money saved. It's the difference between 2 trips a year to visit family or none at all. It's the difference between having a reserve for medical emergencies or having used that reserve to pay for repairs that could have been avoided in the first place. The Model 2 is scheduled to arrive on the market in the second half of 2026. And when it does, it will find an audience that has already gone through this exact cycle with other cars and immediately recognizes the value of what is being offered. It won't be the most impressive car in the showroom. It won't garner luxury comparisons with models that cost twice as much. But for the driver who wants a reliable, predictable, inexpensive-to-maintain vehicle capable of functioning well for an entire decade without requiring difficult financial decisions every few months, it represents something the industry rarely offers clearly: a simple and honest promise that the car will be there when you need it.